Galazzo Network earlier today, Morning Footy, a wonderful show. They had Darian Jenkins on, our very own, Attacking Third's very own. I'm claiming her. And Darian went on and gave an incredible breakdown about the U.S. And she talked so highly of Jaden Shaw and how good she is, how technical she is, and how much Darian loves watching her play. However, Dee, you also said that you don't like Shaw in the 9, and that is now where she has played for 2 straight games under Emma Hayes. Explain yourself.
It's not that I don't like her in the 9. It's not that I don't like her in the 9. I think she's so much better suited as a 10. And if she is going to play in the 9, I didn't have time to talk about this morning footy, but I love that I have the time now, so thank you, Carlin. I think she needs players around her that play differently than she does. Jaden Shaw is a player that loves to be in the pocket. She loves to check in, get a lot of touches, likes to turn on the ball on a dime and either dribble, go 1v1, or combine or thread passes through the backline to attacking players. I don't think last game with Moultrie as the 10, it suited her. I think they got in each other's way. They were both in the same pocket because Moultrie's not a player that's trying to get in behind and stretch a back line. I don't know how Moultrie really fits into this team, but that's besides the point. I think this game with Lavelle in that 10 position with Haran there, and they were able to, Lavelle in the 8 and Haran in the 10, they were able to make those counter movements with Shaw where Haran is known for making those deep runs out of the back to get in behind. She's such a cheeky player with her movement. Same with Rose Lavelle. And she's constantly, watch Lavelle play, she's constantly checking her shoulders like Jaden Shaw to get into pockets and look at different angles to combine. That's where I think Shaw can thrive, is in a false 9 position with players of those type of qualities around her that know those counter movements and have the speed and awareness to get in behind a backline to ask different questions to create those pockets. So with that being said, I still think she's a number 10. I definitely think she should be in that 10 position, but I do like her in that 9 if there's the personnel around her that can complement her style of play, because when she's confident and she's on the ball, the game completely changes. She gets set pieces, she gets shots off, she can put great passes into the 18 or wide, and she's a great finisher. So as long as she's around the goal, whether it's the 10 or the 9, I don't care. Just give the girl space so that she can thrive and do Jaden Shaw things.
I love it. We're always going to just let you cook, Darian.
So you're like, the white camera wasn't on you, but I was just like, she's going, keep going. I love it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to steal the host mic from you, Lisa, but I have a follow-up for
Please, Sandra, always.
Do you wonder, because I couldn't help but think of this, Darian. I couldn't help but think back to Emma Hayes and how she was kind of placed a little bit of that emphasis on the fact that this was supposed to be an experimental time. And like coupling that with the fact that we're just like, hey, we saw an injury happen. Jane Campbell left, Hawk came in. Is there like a layer of where this coaching staff wants to look at Shaw there? Because maybe they're trying to evaluate the hierarchy of the 9 for this team. Like, yes, I'm in agreement with you that Shaw is an incredible 10 and that's where she thrives. But maybe there's going to be a scenario somewhere down the line where Shaw is the 4th best 9 on the team and they might need to lean into that in some sort of occasion.
I believe it speaks to the fluidity that Shaw has said players need between different positions. And I think Shaw can do both. It's similar to Katerina Macario. She can do both, but both players are not necessarily the run deep in behind, trying to use their speed to get in behind a back line. It's not their game. That's not their biggest strength. It's going to be something completely different when it's a Sophia Smith at the 9 or Lynn Williams at the 9 versus a Jaden Shaw and Katerina Macario. Both are great. Both of those styles of players are great, but there has to be complementary pieces around them. And I think with the injuries that we've seen with the national team, that just come with being a professional athlete. Knocks happen, you get muscle strains, whatever. You need players that can fill in and cause problems, but have the tactical awareness and familiarity with their positioning and each other's tendencies to do that. So yes, I do think this is all part of a bigger experiment that Hayes is doing with bringing in personnel. I think Shaw is one of those players that has a spot on the national team in the future, and she was experimenting with players around her to see what complements Shaw's game.
One of those players that got moved around a little bit around Shaw is Ashley Sanchez, traditionally a 10, a midfielder listed on this roster. She started as a front wide player in the front line. Very different role for Sanchez than we're used to seeing. Darian, how do you assess the way that Sanchez fit into this system, especially in the first 45?
First 45, I think she was getting her feet wet back into the national team, back into the rhythm. But once she started to get more touches on the ball and finally check into a pocket of space as opposed to just staying wide and going 1v1, that's where Ashley Sanchez comes alive and starts to cook, and she's combining and taking shots and looking confident. And I like that we got to see that in her game. I still don't even think we got the best out of Ashley Sanchez tonight. We definitely didn't. We know that she can do lights out better than she did tonight, but she was still one of the better players on the pitch, which is crazy to say. And I think once she gets more confidence, gets a little bit more familiar with the tendencies, new tactics of Hayes, like we saw her get better touches, more advancing dangerous touches in the second half, that's going to be a super, super competitive position, I think, for her, because her and Swanson play very similar to each other. They like to check in the pocket. They like to combine. They can float around. And I think once we saw those two combine, I was like, oh, there's our girl. That's how she needs to be at these camps from now on. And I think she got her lick back tonight. She got her lick back tonight. I love it.
She definitely did. Sanchez and Shaw close together physically on the pitch is really fun to watch them because they are so cheeky, little back heels, little spin outs and give and goes that the player that is giving the initial ball is already ready to receive it on the back end in their little give and goes that they played to each other, which was really fun. Sandra, we got to see debuts from 3 different players in the starting lineup for the U.S. women's national team: Alyssa Melanson, Ava Gattino, and Mandy Haupt. But thinking of Melanson and Gattino on the back line, the left outside back in Melanson and Gattino in the center back role, how do they fare in this first 45 minutes? Their first 45 with the U.S. badge on their chest.
You'll have to see it. I mean, I was hopeful that this was going to be a conversation that we were going to be able to have. The fact that there were a certain number of players heading into this camp without those minutes or without those senior level caps, and will they get them? And now here we are talking about the fact that so many of them pretty much can check that off their box at this point. I think this was the perfect game for them to get into. I think when we look at all these games kind of holistically, there's 3 games where they scored 3 goals in every single game. And I think there's going to be a further conversation about the fact that how they did that against a team like Iceland versus a team like Argentina. And so I think for this game, this being the final one at the end of a window, that maybe the opposition in front of them, that this was the game for these 2 particular players to go ahead and get in the mix and be able to, maybe if they had nerves or anxiety, game day anxieties or whatever, had room to make mistakes, that they were to be had, because there was also Naomi Girma out there on this pitch as well. But I thought they did okay. I think in terms of what they were tasked with, I think we could say now at the stats that we're looking at out of this game, we're not tested with a whole ton from Argentina, despite the efforts that may have been there for that team. But that for those reasons, I think that this was the game in which they were going to get into to try to sort of just rip that Band-Aid off, say, okay, first cap, here we go, get out there, make your marks and have some fun. And I think they did a good job. Gattino especially, she won fouls early in this game. I thought that was really good. I think those are the sort of things that you want to try to leave your mark in this game, because if you are going up against an opposition where maybe you might not get those opportunities to shine, you got to try to find those moments in which you can leave your mark.
Speaking just of the field players, because Haupt in a different category as a goalkeeper, Sandra, who had a better debut, Melanson or Gattino?
Oh, goodness gracious. I feel like they're a little bit different, but I'm gonna give this slight edge to Melanson in this one, because I think she grew in the game as it went on.
Darian?
I'll go Gattino. I want to say I think her ability to play out of the back, and she plays as a 6 all the time with Paris Saint-Germain. I think we saw that with her kind of shiftiness on the ball. She was crafty at times when you would just expect a center back to just pass it, and she was juking out Argentinian forwards. And I like that the U.S. went direct. They were allowing especially Mace, Gaetano, and Hirschfeld to play more direct balls, switching the point of attack. And it looked good. She has a great ability to play out of the back. It's a huge quality to have that I think is very overlooked for center backs, because we don't Hayes doesn't necessarily play that type of ball. So
Right.
it was fun to see that, see them break it down, play two of the forward strengths with Sears, especially on that right. Just bomb it forward. Let the girl run. Let's see the stride. That I think she looked really good, especially in the attack. And she had a couple moments of 1v1 defending that we saw. I think I was surprised to see because I haven't seen much of her, and Argentina didn't provide much of it, but she rose to the occasion when it was offered.
The defensive testing for Melanson and Gattino, Girma, right? Anyone across that back line, even Hot, wasn't necessarily there tonight against Argentina. The speed of players like Mace, Melanson, even Gattino, Sears of this first half stuck out to me hands down. In the 37th minute, though, a little bit of history gets made because Naomi Girma scores her first international goal. It comes off a set piece. This is a longtime starter center back for the U.S. for the last 2 years. I mean, she's the only field player to have played every single minute for the U.S. at the Olympics. And finally, we get a Naomi Girma goal in the 37th minute to lift the U.S. 1-0 over Argentina. D, I need it. I need a goal breakdown. Give it to me.
Okay, it all starts with a set piece. The Shaw and Lavelle standing over the ball. Lavelle whips it in. Herrera makes this run, draws the keeper out, brings her Argentinian defender in front of her. Big miscue from the backline of Argentina. Not the first one that we're going to see. Ball is deflected, goes to the center of the 6, and Girma, we trust there to just hammer it away with her head. And I wish we could play video of it because the reactions, the celebrations of Girma, her teammates, the crowd, everybody on the bench, Emma Hayes, were just so excited to celebrate her because she is the complete player. She's the heart of this women's national team. And to just get one goal was incredible on the night. I know we're going to go into the second half after this, but it was a really, really fun match for Girma, especially, and she's making Ballon d'Or committee rue the day that they didn't nominate her because put her in the front line. Watch her cook.
That is all the lore right now. Everyone is talking about Naomi Girma was not even nominated as a player to be voted upon in the Ballon d'Or that just came out earlier this week. It was given to Barcelona and Spain midfielder Aitana Bonmatí for the second year in a row, and that is it. Girma is saying, hello, French football. You need to pay attention to me. I am on the map.
Salut, ça va?
Oh, what is that? Translate.
Hello, how are you? Naomi Girma.
Hello. That's exactly what Girma's doing. She gets the opening goal for the U.S. and her first in the 37th minute. Naomi Girma gives the U.S. a 1-0 lead heading into the 40th minute.